Hello everyone, and welcome to the Reimagining Society talk show. I'm Omosuyi Happy, a global wellbeing envoy of the Reimagining Society. Here with me today is the Director of Youth and Sports, Mrs. Olukemi Okukpe, and also with me today is the founder of Differential Matrix, Mr. Bamidele Toyin. Co-hosting with me today is Honorable Alao Ruth, representing at FUTASU. Today, our attention is on how innovation can be fostered in our societies and how the ideas of undergraduates can be scaled into opportunities. So today, thank you all for joining me in today's talk show, Mrs. Olukemi and Mr. Bamidele. Thank you for joining me on this talk show. So Mrs. Olukemi, tell us your present engagements, that is what you are involved in at present, or what you've been involved in, so we can know more about you.
Like he has rightly said, I'm Mrs. Olukemi Okukpe. I'm the present Director of Youth in the Ondo State Ministry of Youth and Sport. The major assignment we do there is to see to how youth could be developed in the society so that we have a better place.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that submission. So now, Mr. Bamidele Toyin, we would love to hear from you. What is your present engagement that regards this conversation today?
Okay, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be here. Currently, I work with professionals in the industry, academia and government to create projects, policies and partnerships that enable young people to, aspire to work on their dreams and get the best out of their citizenry in the country. That's what I present.
Thank you very much. So much energy just at the beginning. Thank you very much for that submission.
You're welcome once again.
Thank you.
Today's talk show will majorly focus on innovation. That's innovation as a solution to today's challenges. There are so many youths out there trying to make new things, trying to innovate new ideas, but they are facing so many challenges like financial instability, gender inequality. In fact, we can't mention them all. So how do you feel, man? How do you feel these challenges are actually affecting our development?
One of the major problems that our youth is facing is the issue of the mindsets. So many of these youth have tailored their mindset to the fact that when they have their certificates, they should have the white-collar job. They don't think of anything outside that box. But the truth of the matter is this: the white-collar job is no longer there. So that's why we're encouraging them at the Ministry of Youth and Sports that they should look on their own talent, maybe into sporting activity, or try to get a skill, vocational, it could even be agro-business, entrepreneurial, all those things, so that they could be self-employed.
Thank you, Ma. But most of them are actually interested in actually learning all these things. Some is because they are from a poor family, some is as a result of poverty, some is as a result of, our tertiary education, maybe the course they're actually into. So, and this is actually affecting, do you agree that this is actually affecting our development?
Sure.
What's your take on this side?
Okay, I think one of the biggest problems that is hindering how much youth can do is that there's a generational gap that influences how the older generation and the new generation are interacting. There is a total shift in culture, there's a total shift in demographics, and I think that those differences have not yet been fully maximized. So what the youths want and not what the older people want, what the older people want and not what the youths want. So I think it's an information gap, right, that is creating most of the problems. The second problem I would say is the provision of an enabling environment. As Mrs. Olukemi has rightly said, there is a mindset problem. But beyond mindset, there's also an awareness problem. You cannot think beyond your environment, right? And the availability of the internet has made it easier. But you cannot do so much when where you don't have enough resources to experiment. There's no fail-safe environment for young people to experiment the things that they are seeing online. So I think those two major problems are the things hampering our development.
I think we cannot argue that most of the challenges we face as a nation, both economically and infrastructure, can be solved through innovation. Now, considering the current tertiary education system and the theory-centric curriculum, whereby in our university of today, what we do is theory, little time for practical. Now, do you feel this will actually hamper undergraduate innovative tendencies? Sir.
Oh, to me, okay. So I think number one, I think innovation as a word has become too much of a buzzword. Everybody says innovation, innovation, innovation. But the truth about the matter is that innovation is actually a birth of, or is a birth child of knowledge, right? And I think that at the base, what we need to focus on is how much do people know, number one, and what are the quality of what they know. And third, how can what they know produce what they want, right? So aside the issue of innovation, I think that is just a buzzword. But what we need to do is, there are other instruments, right, that affect this environment that's creating the current youths, right? As I mentioned, those are the three things I'm working on. Things like policy. So what are the policies that have been put in place to ensure that students can get adequate knowledge? Aside from the internet has democratized these things. Anybody can get anything anywhere, right? But it will still have to conform to this environment. For example, for a curriculum change to happen in Nigeria, it will go through about 2 to 4 years, right? But innovation in industry happens every 2 years. That simply means that if there's a social hub right now, in 2 years, before 2 years, that's gone through maybe 4 upgrades. So people outside the system are taking more risk than people in the system. So we need to readdress policies before we can readdress innovation.
Are you saying the university community,
yes,
are you saying they should have more time for, they should readjust? Now, I don't know understand what you mean by readjust. Are you saying they should have time for practical more, because it is majorly theory?
Okay, so let me bring it back to context, right? Talking about the undergraduate community, I love how Ms. Olukemi began the conversation, which is about mindset, right? I think one opportunity that we have not fully maximized is the local communities. So, for example, I graduated from Wellbeing University, Ile-Ife, and people saw it that it was weird that I stayed back in school after graduating to focus on the kind of problems I could solve in Ile-Ife, right? A lot of students don't think like that. They want to leave Ife and go to Lagos. So I think one practical thing that we can do is to make linkages between our universities and the local communities. Let us make the conversation of innovation, economic growth and development more localized, more based.
Thank you very much, sir. What's your, let's hear from you too.
Thank you. From our perspective, I feel that we should start by restructuring this educational curriculum. Take for instance, as a parent, if your child is given admission to study fine arts, you feel, what a course. You look down on the course, but the truth of the matter is, if an individual graduates as a fine artist, he could make a living out of it. That we will just be doing things, he doesn't need to look onto government or anybody before he could start working and earning a living. And the same way, if somebody happens to be given admission to study maybe economics or sociology, how does he practicalize that without working in the government setting? So in that way, we need to restructure this educational curriculum to make it more practical so that people could stand on their own and make a living.
Thank you very much for that nice submission. So now, what you're saying that we should just focus on skills, because skills is what is going to bring about development in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Okay. So now, the global north countries, they are known for their innovation, they are known for their technological advancement. Global north countries like countries in Europe, societies in Europe, in Asia, in North America and Australia. So now, how do you think Nigeria and Africa as a whole can rethink so we can move from growth to development? That is, how can we move from where we are to where we need to be? Mr. Bamidele, what's your take on that?
Okay, I think I will sum my response in one word: alternatives.
Okay.
We do not create change by trying to fix old systems.
Okay.
We create change by creating new ones. So we need to start thinking of alternative governance.
Okay.
We need to start thinking of alternative approaches to growth and development.
Okay.
And I always focus on a human-centered approach. That's why I've been advocating for youth-led development approach for alternative means.
So how sustainable would this alternative method be?
So I love the topic of sustainability because it brings to fore the three things that make our world go round.
Okay.
First thing is profit.
Oh.
Second is people value. And third is the planet. Yes. Okay. And how this is going to be sustainable is that currently Africa is actually a youth-populated community, right? I think that the youth should be given responsibility to drive innovation. That is how we would solve the case of sustainability.
Well, thank you very much for that. So, Mrs. Olukemi, what's your take on that?
I agree with my partner that the whole thing starts with the government.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to say the truth. That we need to start to think of alternative, just like you has rightly said, and we should make the environment to be conducive for these young ones to be able to to be able to bring into practical any ideas they have. Okay. Because so many of them, really, for real, they have ideas. They have some things they want to do, but you see, the environment is not encouraging them. Yeah. Sometimes there's no light and no electricity. Sometimes an individual that wants to establish a business, the tax or whatever that he has to pay is just on the eyesight and it's discouraging, and such person will just return to his room. So we need to do all those things so that we make it encouraging for these young ones. And I want to start by saying that I want to add by saying the government maybe will start by including this youth, in this idea, because I remember sometimes went for a program with the federal ministry. They said not too young to run. Yes, if we bring some percentage of the youth to be among maybe in the Senate or in the House of whatever, before you know it, they begin to think better. Then they will bring about ideas that will help themselves. That's the way I feel.
Thank you very much, Ma. So what you're saying is that there should be like a full participation of the youth and inclusion of the youth in the governance of the state and the governance of the society we're dealing. Thank you very much, Ma, for that submission.
Thank you very much, Ma. Mrs. Olukemi Okukpe, you was the clerk of the Ondo State Youth Parliament, and you've been in the ministry for over 50 years. What approach do you adopted in building a community with innovative minds and leaders that seek to solve problems within their community?
Thank you. As a youth development officer, our major assignment, our primary assignment is to, sensitize and mobilize the youth on, you create awareness about government opportunities, let them know what the government is doing that really favor them so that they could tap from those, opportunities. And that is what we have been doing. And so many gatherings, such like this, and so many, maybe programs, workshops, seminars, we often tell them that they should look inward. They should think about themselves. Some of them are, when you talk about talent, I could remember sometimes ago, some youth, they called me, they are from FUTASU, they are, they sing very well, they have this musical, whatever. So all those things, we encourage them that they should keep on doing it. Because we see all of our artists here and there these days, and they are making a lot of money out of that. So we encourage them to develop these skills, to develop this talent, so that they could be able to make a better living.
Wow, how are you able to? Wow. What advice do you have for anyone else who wants to adopt the same method to get an effective result like you did, or even more than you did?
Well, like I said, we keep on advising them, because one thing I know is that when you advise someone, he has the right to choose to do or not to. So we keep on advising them at every opportunity, maybe programs, seminars, workshop, even when they come one-on-one, we advise them. So think about what you can do so that you can make yourself, self-reliant, so that you can stand on your own and make a living. We keep on advising them, and I want to appreciate that some of them are doing that. Some are into farming, some are into agribusiness, some are into entrepreneurial. Because some times back, we do give them, start-off items like anyone that is interested, maybe has gone through fashion designing, we give them all this equipment and all that. But these days, due to economy breakdown, there's no money to buy equipment and give to them again. People keep on advising them and make available information about how they can obtain loan and still be able to make a living.
Keep on advising them. Thank you, Ma. What about people that actually have passion for doing what you're doing, but they don't have financial backup?
Passion? You mean to work in ministry?
You are influencing youth. You are you are calling those who have talent and everything. But you have the backup of the government. You're working with the ministry.
Yes.
Now, what about someone who's not working with the ministry
and wants to develop his talent? And wants to stand on his own. There are government opportunities. There are loans that are made available, though sometimes it may be very little. Like OSMA, that's Ondo State Microcredit Agency. They give about 150,000, though it's little, but one could start something with that.
Well,
then we have lots more.
Back to you, Mr. Bamidele Toyin. I'm aware of the Venture Matrix project and how you've been able to gather leaders from different universities in Nigeria and also the 19 multi-sector stakeholders Like, what approach do you adopted in building a community with innovative minds and leaders that seek to solve issues within their community?
Okay, yes. One thing, or rather two things. First thing is just clarity of vision. I was able to sell a different narrative than what they were used to. And number two is to let them do what they want to do. You know, I don't impose how I think a problem should be solved. I like people to actually tell me how they want to solve a problem and then let them solve it. So independence, autonomy, yes, that's the word. Autonomy and clarity of vision, that's how I've been able to do that.
So you allow them to express themselves,
Yes.
to do what they actually want to do.
Yes.
Wow. How can you advise anyone else who should take the same approach to get an effective result like you did, or even more than you did?
So first thing is you need to expose yourself to different, right? You need to go out of your comfort zone. So one thing that I know made me really different while I was in university was that I was never thinking like a university student. I used to leave campus to attend seminars in Lagos. I went as far as, I remember using my house rent to pay for somebody's master class because I know I needed to speak to this person, right? And, things like that. So it comes back to, getting that exposure and taking more risk. I think it's as simple as that.
Oh, thank you very much. Mr. Bamidele Toyin, there are so many communities out there whose major aim is to develop youth, innovative youth especially. So, we're not feeling the effects like before. What role do you think this community can actually play to make sure undergraduate communities become a center of innovation where youth can create, get access to opportunities, get support from stakeholders, and even build things that develop their local programs?
Okay, so first things first is we need to organize, to collaborate. That's the first thing. Meaning that we need more communities that are run collaboratively and not trying to solve a problem in a silo. Trying to say, okay, this is what we want to do, and then only us will try to focus on it. So we need to organize ourselves. So if there are like 7 communities in a university, those 7 communities can come to do a joint project, right? And then collaborate on that. Number 2 is now to connect to industry. So connect to people in industry, more connections to people in industry, more connections to people in academia, more connections to people in government, right? We can't keep trying to solve problems without the knowledge of key stakeholders that will make it a reality, right? And then finally is to make sure that we are thinking interdependently and not dependently, right? We still need to keep taking action independent of how much resources we can get per time.
So you mean should collaborate, they should
Connect.
Right connections. Wow. Thank you very much, sir. What's your take on this?
Community, when you look at it holistically, that is, as a whole, it comprises the economic setting, the religious, the political, and lots more. Now let me take the religious to start with. I'm a Christian. Let me start from the church setting. The church will assist in empowering these youth, these young ones. Take for instance, I know of a church I won't mention because I'm not a member of that church and I'm not here for publicity anyway. That church empowered that particular individual to be able to wax a record. We all sing the song in our churches. Yes, I won't mention, but anybody that, yes, the church setting, they felt, this guy, he has this talent and he doesn't have the financial wherewithal. They empowered him and he was able to bring the record and everybody is singing all around. The same way, the political, that goes to government. They should try and make the environment conducive. Bringing down some of these unnecessary tasks or whatever that is on things, they should bring it down so that these youth that want to establish one thing or the other could be able to do it. Then the economy, it also borders to the government too. So those are I believe that all this setting, all these sectors, if they carry out whatever they are doing with the passion for these young ones to be able to stand, then we'll have a better place.
Well, thank you, ma'am. You mean the churches, not only Christians, but that religion?
Well, yes, it's also the Muslim or whatever, or any other religion, they should do something. Our government, they should do their part too.
Yeah. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Bamidele and Mrs. Olukemi, for that summation. So, Mr. Bamidele, you made mention of something, like changing the existing narrative. So, tell us, what's this narrative you seek to change? And how does it affect the undergraduate, even the undergraduate community?
Okay, so I run a project called the Venture Matrix for the Future of Africa, and we're trying to change the narrative that the undergraduate community is just built for the labor market, right? As I said, what's the alternative narrative? Is that the undergraduate community can become value creators, right? That we're not trying to just see people in the university as people that will just finish from a course and start looking for jobs, but those who can create value within their local context, right? Because I feel that that gap between the university, the local community, and then the bigger economies within our African or Nigerian context, right, is where our opportunity lies. So that is basically what I'm doing with the Venture Matrix project. So designing systems that make sure that youth are more included in the political process, economic process, and social processes are the kind of projects that I'm currently working on.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And you also made mention of like connecting this youth, these undergraduates to like 19 the multi-sector stakeholders and all that.
Yeah.
So like there are investors who are ready to like impart into the younger generation, but there's this fear in them that if they impart, like how can they sustain that money they're going to give them? So how can this fear be taken away from them? And how can the young minds be able to like be dependent on the money they are given or the investment they are given?
Nice question. I'm going to answer it two ways. The first way is the whole opportunity space is built on risk.
Okay.
We cannot advance if we do not take risk. The reason why we're here seated today is because someone took a risk to set up this establishment.
Okay.
So until investors, until government begin to take more risk on young people, we're not going to go anywhere.
Wow.
Right. But the second way I'm going to answer that is that the youth need to become more investment worthy. And how they be able to do that is that they can become more disruptive. Now, to simplify that is you have to show me a track record that earns my trust to be able to take a risk on you. So if I'm going to be government, as Mrs. Olukemi has rightly said, the task implications and all of that. Task is a major revenue generator for the government.
Yeah.
So, I love a quote that says that there are two things that are inevitable, which is debt and taxes, because the government will make money through tax.
Yeah.
So, but if the youth become an economic center house, then you have negotiation power to negotiate, okay, we want reduction in taxes because we have more people that are creating more jobs in this sector. So that is how we'll be able to get. So create more results, and then more people should be able to take risks.
So if like these undergraduates, young minds start creating resources and everything, how is it going to affect their own society, and how will their society benefit from it? Like that Mama Sikira on the road, how is she going to benefit from it? The Baba that is selling something on the road, how is it going to benefit from these resources or the value these undergraduates are creating? So how are they going to benefit from this?
All right, beautiful. The first thing is that we begin, okay, when the youth begin to take more risk, we now start to see a society that is overcoming fear.
Okay.
The reason why Mama Sikira would want to continue to stay Mama Sikira is because she's at risk of, if this thing fails, my children would suffer for it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? But when Mama Sikira starts seeing young people doing what she can do in better ways, right, that fear of failure now becomes motivation to actually change.
Yeah.
Right. So when we see young people taking more risk, we begin to rewrite the narrative about failure. Now, second thing is, how does Yasikira benefit is in wealth creation. Okay. Now, in the Venture Matrix project, one thing I advocate for is local innovation. Okay. We're not trying to build the next Facebook. Let's leave that for a while. Yeah. There are people who are focused on building the next Facebook. Yeah. But how can we build the next Facebook that Yasikira can benefit from? Right? It's called market creating innovations. Okay. So that is how people can get. Well, I think I'll stop there.
Thank you very much for that. So, Mr. Olukemi, like, now tell us what needs to be done or measured for us to know that we are really making progress in fostering this innovation in our secondary schools, our undergraduate communities, and in our societies as a whole. So what needs to be done? Like, how will we know that we're making progress in fostering innovation in our societies?
I want to start by saying, like I said earlier, that the curriculum needs to be restructured. If it's being restructured right from secondary school, the idea of skill is being embraced. The secondary school students knows that, oh, I have to learn something. At the time I'm completing the SS3, I'm not only writing WAEC, I'm going to still be able to do one or two things. Even if I don't have parents that will further, that if I can't further, then I have something I can live by. from that end, we know we are making something.
Yeah.
Definitely, you will see a secondary school old, maybe girl or boy, you won't see him wandering around or say he wants to be, they need a sales girl or sales boy. Will go and be sales boy and be running around there. He will be doing something, and then he's able to make a living. So if eventually he could even sponsor herself in the tertiary education, because since he's able to make something out of what he has, the skill he has gathered in the secondary school, then I want to go to polytechnic, then I'll be sponsoring myself, I'll still be doing this skill. Before you know it, we know that we are moving forward. Because that is what we admire about this American. They say they are tertiary, this thing, they are schooling, they are working, and things like that. But here, if you are at the university, you are there, your parents, the whole family, the one sponsoring you.
Doing a lot.
Industries.
Exactly.
They are already developing their country. Whereas people of that age in Nigeria are still maybe in GSS1, are still in secondary school. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you very much, Ma, for that. Mr. Bamidele, so what do you think needs to be done for us to measure that we are really making progress in fostering innovation in our secondary schools and in our societies as a whole?
Okay, there are three key metrics, like I mentioned before. Number one is generation of profit, the change of behavior in people, and then the betterment of the environment. But before, I quickly need to make a point, and I'm going to make it in like 2 seconds. Now, one truth about this, as I said, innovation is just a buzzword. Not everybody will innovate. But what we can do differently is that, as I said, there are two people. There are the innovators and there's the economy class. Once we can get the innovators to innovate with a social cause in mind, that means you are innovating to make sure that the economy class is better, the Yasikira is better, not because you want to just line your pocket. Then we can have a society that is moving forward. So back to how do we measure progress? Once Mama Sikira that was making 15 naira each day can make 150 in a day, that's progress. It is tangible. We can see it happen. How can we do that? So a young guy, you can build a website for Yasikira. She doesn't even know how to handle website, but she has a lot of pepper. Once you can build an e-commerce website that helps her move a pepper from where she is to where somebody else can pay at higher value, you have helped her to make profits. Secondly is change in value. So once Yasikira starts to see her business as an establishment and not just something that she used to put in her mouth, because what? There's somebody like you who is educating her on how to keep her records, how to keep records of her books, how to make sure that she's employing people better, how to think bigger than where she is. There's a change in behavior. Do you understand? Then last thing is when we can see that, okay, there's better use of environmental resources, those things we can measure and say, okay, yes, we're making progress.
Wow, nice submission. So there's this thing about this enabling environment. I will hear you say through the venture matrix. So how are you going to come about this enabling environment for young minds and undergraduate community for them to like innovate and solve issues within their local communities?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. That's another buzzword. Enabling environment is another buzzword. It has to be enabling environment for something. So I advocate for enabling environment for value creation. Now I had to do my research and design a whole infrastructure for that. And what I was advocating for is that in our universities we have Department of Education. We have Department of Social Sciences. But then they are not practically taking what they are learning into their local communities that is just 20 naira bus away. So enabling environment for value creation is that we have a system where students can access a marketplace that they can exchange what they know for money. You have an assignment. You don't want to do it. Is there somewhere where you can get a student that can pay?
And then you pay.
Once you can create, in fact, that's as simple as I can say it, right? Enabling environment just means how do you create markets for people to exchange value. It's as simple as that.
Wow. Thank you very much for that. So, Mr. Olukemi, would you love to add anything to that?
Well, from my perspective, I just want to add one or two things to what my partner said. When viewing enabling environments, sometimes you focus it on, is the place conducive for me to do what I intend? That's what I call a layman interpretation of the word enabling environment. That is this environment, is it going to encourage me? Or is the environment discouraging me? If actually the environment is discouraging you, then you go back to your bed. But if it's encouraging you, keep on doing it. Yes,
keep on innovating.
Keep on. Then when you are doing it, you are progressing. And I want to look at it from the perspective of a young one trying to set up maybe computer business, what do you call it, cyber cafe or whatever. Is the enabling environment there?
Yeah.
The individual begin to think, he's able to get money and he gets the photocopier, the printer, this one, the scanner and all the rest of it. Is the environment going to encourage that person to continue? We all know the answer.
Yeah.
In a situation where the environment does not encourage the fellow to continue, except to go and look for one big generator somewhere where he has to go and buy fuel again and be using it to power those systems in order to do just photocopy of maybe 10 naira a page. Such person, if you continue that business, maybe he will be able to manage for the next 6 months and just fold up and go back to his room.
Yeah, thank you very much, ma, for that. So, Mr. Bamidele, I really want to like ask you this question. So, you said that you are a policymaker and all that. So, like, what policies need to be implemented for us to like create this innovation, and how can the government be fully aware of this policy and they pass this bill for which to like innovate in our societies, and how can this be sustainable? How can these policies be sustainable? So, what do you think?
Wow. I cannot directly speak to what policies should be done, but how policies should be done.
Okay.
Policies should be more inclusive.
Okay.
Most times we notice that policies are created independent of the people that they are being created for.
Yeah.
But secondly, more than the creation of policies is the implementation of the policy.
Yeah.
Is what are the measures put in place to make sure that there are checks and balances, transparency, and an accountability for those that are going to implement. Then the last one is about how do we make sure that that outcome we've already gotten is sustained.
Okay.
And the best way you can do that is to make sure that those who are implementing policies are empowered to keep implementing the policies. So that's as easy as it can get.
Wow, thank you very much. This was really awesome. We really learned a lot. Like, it was impactful, insightful. Like, I really gained a lot from all what you said. So I'll give my host to like just say a word of appreciation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for honoring the invitation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you once again for joining us on the show. And to our viewers there, thank you all for watching this and also like being part of this talk show. You can connect with us on our social media platforms at Reimagining Society, and also check us out at www.reimaginingsociety.com. And also, this conversation doesn't end there. Always bear in mind, keep thinking differently, keep acting differently, and keep doing that thing the world needs you to do, because innovation truly is the solution to today's challenges. Thank you all for being part of the show. I remain your host, Omosuyi.
I remain your co-host, Alao Ruth.